Mr. President, I rise today to discuss something extremely important to each one of us in this wonderful body, which is called civility and trust. Civility and trust. And I rise to discuss them because they've been lost in Washington. And I look around and we're all friends. But for some reason, we lost the trust to each other. We don't seem to spend enough time with each other. I can remember Senator Robert C. Byrd, who served the longest serving senator, I think, in the history of the United States Senate. And he always told me what a place this was. He said the Senate is something special. He even wrote a book about it, about how the Senate was to operate, the founding fathers, what the intent was for the bipartisan, bicameral body that George Washington explained so eloquently, and what our role was. It's the most deliberate body in the world. The whole world depends on us kind of cooling things off and making things work. But as we've seen, it hasn't done what it's supposed to do. And it's not the blame of one person or the other or one party or the other. I guess we can all say it's all of our fault for letting it denigrate to this point. Several years ago, I took a personal pledge, and I just knew something was wrong. When I first got here, and I looked around and I saw that we were all expected to make phone calls raising money every day to our respective parties, and that money would be used for a couple of purposes. The purpose of basically setting an agenda or explaining your priorities and your policies. But a lot of that money was directed towards defeating colleagues on the other side. So me being in the Democrat caucus, and the Democrat money was supposed to be raised, and if any one of my friends on the Republican side was up in cycle, that money was supposed to be used against them. I thought that was wrong. And I know my Republican friends, I know a lot of them feel the same way, that they're supposed to be making phone calls to raise money to be used against me and everybody else is up in cycle. And I'm sure they feel the same as I do. I've often said that that I come to work in a hostile work environment. And I try to explain that in terms of how we in West Virginia would look upon this. If you go to work every day in my state of West Virginia, and your colleague or some person that you're working with is trying to undermine and undercut you and get you fired, and every day you go to work, they are nice to your face, but behind the scenes, they're doing all they can to denigrate your work or make your supervisors believe that you're not doing your job. Back home in West Virginia, sooner or later, they're going to want a little talk. They'll say, can we talk in the parking lot? Can we have this agreement worked out? And that's just the way it would be settled. Maybe that's the way it should be settled here too. I don't know. I don't think so. I've met too many wonderful people that I've been serving with for the last 7 years that are bright, that are extremely capable and intelligent, that have a wealth of experience. And I would put them up against any people that I've met anywhere in any occupation in the country. But for some reason, we're all blocked from doing the right thing, of what we know is right. Sitting down and not accusing each other, not working and conspiring against each other, and not getting basically to the point that it's so visceral that someone might be talking with me one day, but then that weekend they might be in my state campaigning against me, and then we come back on Monday or Tuesday and we're supposed to sit down and work through our problems and differences for the betterment of our country. I just think human nature doesn't let that happen, and it won't produce good results. I've always looked forward to working with everybody, and I'm probably one of the most centrist as far as being on more pieces of legislation in a bipartisan way. I've never looked at a Republican or a Democrat problem. I just looked at a problem that we had. And I always said this, the best form of government is the best policies and the best form of politics, if you want to play hardcore politics, is good government. Everyone can take credit for doing something good, and I'll assure you, we do something wrong or we don't fix things, we all get blamed. We all get blamed. So nobody looks good when we sit and work on our differences. We all get credit when we try to work together. We're facing a lot of challenges right now. When we do things that basically shun the other side because we don't want to share the glory with someone else if we think there's some good in a piece of legislation. Every piece of legislation we voted for or against has good in it. Every piece of legislation has something good, worthwhile in it. What happens is there are ways that we can make it better. And that's where our difference is. If you can make something better, then I need to sit down and work with you because I don't have all the answers. But we both have a desire to make the best piece of policy that we can in legislation, so we should be working together. I should be open to saying, okay, that makes sense to me. Let's see if we can amend this and fix it. But it seems we get set in our ways. You know, the place that Robert Byrd talked about many years ago was a place where people stayed, spent more time in Washington. They didn't come in on Monday night and leave on Thursday afternoon. They stayed and worked. On the weekends, they would even get together and have dinners together. Families would do things together during the days on the weekends. And they became friends. It's hard to say no to your friend. It's hard. If all of us have been in situations when it was very hurtful that a friend that you disagreed with, you tried to find the most delicate way to see if there was a pathway forward without losing that friendship. It meant that much to us. That's what it should be here too. But when you don't have that relationship, and I said as a former governor, I have my dear friend from South Dakota, who's my dear friend, we're going to look for a way to stay together and be friends. We're not going to look for a way to disagree and diverse from that friendship that we built. We built that over our terms working together as governors. And I've always said the governors are the most bipartisan people I've ever met. And our NGA, National Governors Association, when you had an education problem, when you had a Medicaid problem, when you had an infrastructure problem, when you had a senior citizen problem, when you had a veterans problem, you looked around and you saw someone in one state that might have found a pathway forward to fix that. You never hesitated to call them and say, hey, Mike, what'd you think about this? He said, well, I've tried this, Joe. Why don't you try it? I'll send someone, or I'll send you, or you send someone out, and we'll work together. That's what I was used to doing as far as getting things done, and that's what I want to do here again. I think the place is right for it. The American people want us all, from the states we represent, to have a bipartisan pathway forward, to work together. I know the people in West Virginia want to see us get things accomplished. I've got a state, a wonderful little state that's given her all. I often tell people in West Virginia, I tell the children, I said, when someone asks you where you're from, I said, I want you to puff your chest up. And I want you to say, oh, I come from a beautiful little state, one of the most patriotic states in the nation. We have answered a call to duty more than most any state. We have more veterans per capita than most any state. We have fought in more wars, shed more blood, lost more lives for the cause of freedom than most any state. We've done the heavy lifting. We've mined the coal that made the steel, that built the guns and ships that defend our country every day. And the good Lord has been so kind to us and blessed us with one of the greatest venues that you'll ever see in the mountains of West Virginia. And my little state is called West Virginia. We hope you come and visit, and maybe you'll even stay. It's really who we are, and we all have that same pride. Each one of us do, whether it be Indiana, South Dakota, wherever it may be. We have a pride of our state and the people in our state, and they deserve better than what we're giving them right now. I don't see anybody in public service that's willing to put their name on the ballot as my enemy. If you're willing to serve, then I'm your comrade. I'm going to work with you. You're willing to take the heat that comes with these jobs, then let's make sure we get the results that the jobs should produce. These jobs should produce results that the whole world can have a hope that America is the right place. They are the place that can solve the problems that we all have, and they still can lift us up and be the hope of the world. So with that, I'm pledging to the people of West Virginia and to the American people that I will not campaign against a sitting colleague, that I will not directly fundraise against them, that I will not distribute any direct mail against them. I will not appear or endorse any advertisements directed at them, and I will not use or endorse social media campaigns that attack them. Washington will be dysfunctional until we all draw a line of truce and say, look, we're here for the same reason. We take the same oath. We swear to the same Constitution on a Bible that we will uphold. That's what we're here to do. And since that civility has broken down because the system has changed and we're not here and we don't know families, each other, we don't know our spouses, we don't know our children, we better control ourselves hopefully through the rules that we could change and the ethics laws that we should live by to treat each other in the manner that we would want to be treated. So with that, I'm going to sign this pledge, and I would hope that all of my colleagues would consider signing a pledge the same way. We're the only ones that can change it. The power has changed. The pressure that comes within has changed. The way this place works has changed, and the only way we can change it is say we're not going to participate anymore in denigrating each other and attacking each other. So with that, I'm going to sign the pledge, and it says here, pledge to return to an era of bipartisan cooperation and agreement. In order to restore civility to the United States Senate and our political discourse, we must pledge to return an era of bipartisan cooperation and agreement. I, Joe Manchin, pledge to the people of West Virginia and to the American people that I will not campaign against a sitting colleague, not directly fundraise against them, not distribute direct mail against them, not appear, endorse advertisements directed at them, and not use or endorse social media campaign that attacks them. I would hope that each one of you all would consider this. I think we have to take this in our own hands right now and make sure that we look at each other. We look at each other with sincerity. You're my friend. We might disagree, but we can work through this, Mr. President. We can definitely work through this. And remember what our purpose of being here. The people want us to succeed. They depend on us to succeed. And that's the policies that they need. Whether it be in Indiana, whether it be in South Dakota or West Virginia, they all want the same. They want America to be the hope of the world. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.